When I was in trouble, my way was dark and night. Jesus gave me comfort and brought me to the light. He took away my sorrow and made my burdens light. He is everything to me. If it wasn't for the Lord, tell me, what would I do? Oh, tell me, what would I do? Please tell me, what would I do if it wasn't for the Lord? Tell me, what would I do? He is everything to me. He gives bread in dry places and water in a thirsty land. He's my rock and shelter, and he holds me by the hand. And when my friends forsake me, close by my side he'll stand. He's everything to me. If it wasn't for the Lord, tell me, what would I do? Please tell me, what would I do? Please tell me, what would I do? If it wasn't for the Lord, tell me, what would I do? He's everything to me. For the next 30 minutes, we're going to be teaching our last lesson this month for myself. I'll be gone for the next 2 weeks. And the title of this lesson is The Holy Invitation. And we've technically taught a full 4 lessons. We started this on a Sunday, and we got kind of a full 2 Wednesdays fit into that lesson. But I want to unpack this lesson because I feel like it's critical to kind of realize our power as we invite people and the many ways we can invite them. What I want to do is I want to start with a couple of things. And one specifically I want to think about is a question. And the question is how do we walk, live in divine love? How do we walk, how do we live in divine love? Now, as a child growing up, when you get sick, we have you come sit on the altar, and we pray for you all, and we say, we believe in divine healing. And so we have a definition of that. We'll get to that in a minute. But the question that we're going to start with, and this is for you all, is how do you walk or live, if you want to phrase it, in divine love? Being in continual prayer. Being in continue prayer. That's definitely one of them. You want to add to that list of how do you walk in divine love? Yes, Keziah. Never forget who God is, says Keziah. He wants to add to that list of how do you walk in divine love? Walk, live. Joshua. Acknowledging God's presence. I want to take a pause from our list, and I want us to pick a person in the Bible, not Jesus, but another person in the Bible that we believe walked in divine love. Is there anyone in the Bible that we felt, man, they walked in divine love? Yes, Keziah. Moses. Moses shows up on our list. We'll talk about Moses in a second. Anyone else think that walked in divine love, Tatiana? Mary Magdalene, Jesus' mother? Mary, yes. Oh, David. David and Goliath, David? And yes? Joseph. And we want to pause. Oh, go ahead, Keziah. Esther. Y'all getting the veterans here. We haven't talked about Esther in a while. Esther and, do you have one up, Kinley? Job. Man, you know Job. You know Job. And those that are watching online, feel free to jump into this conversation. I can see your comments. I wanna think about divine love as we want to kind of get it. We don't want to say walk in divine love. I want us to get a picture of what divine love looks like. The models we have in the Bible are great places to jump off, but I also don't want to feel like we're out of reach here, because I don't know, if I find out about some great thing, I have a hard time keeping it in. I want to tell somebody, who's my close friends, about it. And I think oftentimes with invitation, when we have this great gift of divine love, we want to talk about the characteristics of divine love. And we might say, well, what does divine love and walking, living divine love have to do with a holy invitation? Well, we know one of the most powerful ways to invite someone to an event, to invite someone to a movement, to a religion, to an experience, is with love. That's one of the most powerful ways to invite them. And so if we understand what divine love looks like, how it walks, how it lives, and we're internalizing it, or finding areas we can improve our divine love and allow it to move through us, you will find that all of a sudden the invitation is easy. Because who doesn't want love? Who doesn't want divine love? Okay? Now, I want to ask a side note question, is it possible for divine love to continue on impacting people after you physically pass away and your body has gone to the ground? Is that possible? Is it possible for divine love to continually impact people even if your physical body is passed on and put into the ground through death? Alicia.
Well, I think it's relevant to define divine.
Mm-hmm.
Divine being directly from God.
Directly from God.
And divine love, the love from God that will come through you.
Yes.
Then anyone, so the short answer to your question is yes.
Yes.
And how is God answers the prayers, the effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man or woman are answered.
Yes.
So a prayer that meets the conditions will be answered.
Yes.
So if God doesn't answer in your lifetime, He still obligates Himself
To keep working. God keeps working. Now, divine love keeps going. You understand my logic here? The next step is the human love, the love that we have, that we kind of sing about in pop songs today. That love stops with our breath stopping. So I just want to understand that the power of your invitation can continue to invite people, can continue to bring people to God, even if you're physically not here anymore. Yes.
I have a comment.
Sure.
I was thinking about, in my head, I was meditating about the list of people that we brought up and things of that sort. And from what I understand, like, not all of these people were perfect and like in the Bible in the sense of like they didn't do everything right. Some of them did. Job was like on it, but at one point Joseph was being mean back to his brothers. And what came to me that I felt like God gave to me was that divine love is not being focused on being perfect, but being focused on your purpose. And as long as you're focused on your purpose, and you don't stop staying focused on your purpose, divine love can flow through you.
That is perfect. Not being focused on your perfection, but your purpose. That is a great side note we're going to come back to if we have time, because I want to get to that. That's huge. So we had a list that was continuing. I want to get two more on that list of how do you walk or live in divine love. We have being in constant prayer, never forgetting who God is, and something about God's presence. What was that about God's presence? Acknowledging. That's what Aaron's trying to say here. Acknowledging God's presence.
In order for God's love to flow through you, you have to be His trusted child.
So you have to be a part of the salvation structure, part of God's. So we're going to put saved. Now, my question, if you're saved, you're running along life's path saved, and God's love is flowing through you. Once you get sanctified, right? Does the God's love flow even more, or is it the same?
Your understanding of how to communicate God's love increases.
Okay. So if your understanding grows, it's possible that your love,
More of it might come through you.
because the knowledge expands. Okay, this is powerful. I like it. I saw a hand because oh. So the dynamic here, I want one more idea of the answer to this question. We have three here. I want four. We have four. I want five. How do we walk in divine or live? I say walk symbolically for live in divine love. And I want to add one here. So we're at five. Is consistency. We don't necessarily have to be perfect at consistency, but consistency is a powerful, powerful, powerful catalyst for this divine love, because God's love is the most consistent love on the planet. So in order for us to walk and live in this love, we have to be consistent. All right? So consistency comes up a lot.
Off of that statement.
Could continue.
Going off of your statement, the thought that came to me is like also understanding that, just like how we say that, I think it was like a lesson about like taking our last breath and like how we plan for that by using the tools that God's given us to do that sort. I think when we're taking these steps and when it comes to divine love, to also understand that we're human and that there's gonna be times when we're gonna fall and we're not gonna, necessarily be as consistent as we want to be, but to always lean to God, we get back up and continue that process.
Yes.
It's not perfect.
I think, this idea the devil likes to use of perfection. We look at all these people, Moses, Mary, David, Joseph, Esther, Job. We're not looking at perfect people. We're looking at people that didn't give up, that continued to work as best they possibly could with the divine help and support of consistent, how do you walk in divine love? So the how has been kind of clarified. The next question I have is, how do you live with divine healing? So divine healing is something we do often here. We sit you on the altar, we pray for you. And also I would say divine healing is incorporated in the foods that are clean that we're able to eat. That's God's divine healing. God helping us to nourish us with the food out in nature. And so for me, divine healing is a complex and big topic. But the idea that we can just literally lay hands and wield nature and God to heal our bodies is like a superpower. You have massive millions of dollars of hospitals and systems in place to heal, and we're saying that there is divine power readily available to us that we can access as we are obedient. So the next kind of question is not like a setup, but imagine it's a challenge. We talked about how. The next how is, how do you fully let God flow through you? So what we're saying is that you might get saved and you have the power of God in your life. But because you have maybe are still working through some things, we'll say in your attitude, we'll use this as a simple example, that because you have your work, you're still working on it, God's still working on your attitude, and you're being hard-headed with God, you're not quite submitting to Him and allowing Him to totally turn your attitude over, He's starting to close down God fully working in you, fully flowing through you. You're still saved. The scripture talks about us getting lukewarm. not cold. You aren't headed to hell and done, but you're not on fire for God. You're getting neutralized. You're kind of trying to ride the fence. The flow is not completely happening. My dad has a great analogy, an example where he said you took a dark room, you had a flashlight, and you shine a flashlight. And he said the middle of the flashlight is the middle of God's will. You get to the edge, it gets a little dimmer, a little dimmer. So we'd imagine if you're on the edge of the flashlight spiritually, that love is not fully flowing. It doesn't mean that you're a little fire going, right? You stoked, it's not a blazing fire. You're on the edge. And if you get to the middle, God is flowing through you. And we might have some examples of Grandpa Chandler and those that are on the wall where God was fully flowing through people. But I remember my mom would tell us when we have some serious situation, maybe a sickness or a serious situation, she would say, I need you to pray. And the first prayer to pray is not for the thing we want fixed, but to clean up anything in our hearts that could be hindering God's prayer, that would get in the way of God's work. And this always made me nervous, right? I was like, I think I'm good. And if I admit it, what's the punishment? You know, it's like, there is no punishment. This is much bigger than punishment. This is about you and God, make sure that's clear. And so the question, and there's been stories, I'll say too, is several stories in the Bible that God blessed individuals to come and conquer a city. And he said, don't take anything out of the city. Just, leave the spoils there for specific instructions. And people stole it and tucked it in their little cabin trying to hide it. It contaminates God's blessing. If God says leave it, don't quietly, he can't see us and we kind of hide it in. So sometimes spiritually, God will heal us from something and he'll say, your home is a divine home. And we're like, but he ain't going to see that. I'll just stick that over in the corner and no one's going to notice. And all of a sudden it's stopping God from moving fully through us. This could be a physical location or it could be also a spiritual location. There's two separate places, yes.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What if you're in a situation where you can't do anything about removing what you feel God wants removed?
Exactly. I was thinking the same thing on this because this came up for me because sometimes we live in dorms. We have dorm mates, we have universities. Things happen. The building we're in, these are not easy things to control. But this is important. I remember I did something wrong. I felt I needed to ask for forgiveness, but the person left the country, right? And I was like, what do I do if they left the country? And I can't just call them because it was back in the day, like 1995, so emails and stuff wasn't readily available. And they're not here. I'm going to hell because I messed up and they're gone. I can't ask forgiveness. And it's about, if my mom brings a message about asking God that if I see that person again, it will be removed. It will be taken care of. I will take care of it. I have forgiven them in my heart, and God knows my heart's intention is to remove it. And so oftentimes, we live in a country called America, right? And America may do some things that we don't like. And if it was our intention, we would say it wouldn't happen. We don't have control over the government in that way. So we can say, God, if this was in my heart, I am clear. If this thing might be in my dormmate might have it, or it might be some situation where I'm a child and my parents have it. I'm not in control of the environment, but I have to live here. God, you know my heart. If it was in my control, I will get rid of it. If it was in my power, I would get rid of it. Now, the second prayer could be, God, you take care of it. I can't move it. You move it. It's not even my concern anyway. Just you remove it, and I'll continue on to my life. And that's the privilege we have as fully saved and sanctified individuals. So the question I have here is the question for you all. I kind of got to get a little elaborate examples here, but the question is, how do I let God flow fully through you or me? How do you want to phrase it? How does it let him flow fully? Because we talk about divine love, divine healing. All these are accessible to us, but if it's not flowing through us, we miss a big portion of our blessing. If it's trickling out, every once in a while, a little divine blessings, a little while, a little divine love, but not just flowing, right? So how do we we get to choose this particular Christian structure here. We believe we get to choose God's flowing through us. It isn't just automatic it happen to us. We get to choose it. How do we do that? How do we let God's love and power fully flow through you? What is and now we're going to assume that we're all saved in this context. Salvation's implied, but how else do we let God flow fully through us? Yes.
I guess mine is a question again.
Sure.
An answer, but we all know that we're living in a day and time
that I feel like extra spirits are unleashed, and it's a serious spiritual battle, even for the ones that's been like saved for a long time, and dealing with this extra spirits and force that's coming forth. How do we let God's
Yeah.
love flow? I guess I
Yeah,
know
yeah,
I shouldn't
yeah.
be reversing
No,
it.
no.
That's
This
why
is-
I don't mean to do
No.
that, but I guess it's a personal thing.
There's a question, a song Travis sang. It's called "Nailed to the Cross." And in this song, it talks about the powers, the demons, the this, the that. It has a great kind of. If I had memorized completely, I would share it. But it says a list of things, principalities, whatever, have all been nailed to the cross. Symbolically, use a great pun in words of that. It's been taken care of. The key is that we have to believe it's been taken care of. Because I have been in situations, not necessarily spiritual situations, but I've been in situations where maybe there was a rat in a given location in the house, and the rat has been gone. But I don't believe the rat has been gone. Even though maybe someone says, "Oh, we got it got away," I'm still walking in there carefully. And oftentimes, spiritually, we don't believe the rat's gone. God's already taken care of it, and we're still walking in there in the context of fear. We're not walking in there believing that God has already saw this coming, and He's already taken care of it. And part of the flow, and part of this answer to this question, I feel, is believing. It's the faith that allows us to win. Because I think for me, the trick where the enemy likes to get us is to make us say, "Are you sure that God got this one?" I mean, now we're getting technology. This now we got this. The Bible anticipates cell phones and iPhones and internet, and the refrigerators have internet now, and cars are now going off with like water. And the Bible know about that? Of course, it's all been nailed to the cross. But we have to make sure that our faith is in place to take in the fact that it's already been nailed to the cross.
Because I constantly find myself asking the Lord to keep my heart pure.
Yeah.
Like just keep my heart in a place that's not harping or even against like His word or just people. I mean, it's like such a. I mean, I feel maybe it's a special attack from the enemy on me, and I'm trying to put it in.
No, but that's how we learn.
It's hard sometimes, like even to pray, to even pull out a Bible. Like the enemy has gone so far as making like a big bombshell over here just to keep you. And then when you finally get back to it, it's like, oh, this is why. Like, because God has something
Yep.
very specific. But it's not, I remember before, like even just 5 years ago, I know it sounded like a long time ago, but it seemed like it was just yesterday that I could have a peace with just like coming to the table, enjoying the communication with God, reading my Bible, devotional books, and getting the word from God, and even like teaching from the Lord, special and specific teaching. And now it's not like that. It's like literally you have to drag yourself, and then once you drag yourself there, you're constantly like the enemy was before, I'll say, a distance. Now he's sitting right next to you. He's been trying to close your book, so to speak. And how do you fight against that? How do you get where God is flowing through you?
Exactly. So the question we asked is, how do you make God flow through you? You had a beautiful example of, now I'm trying to still fight in the presence of my enemy. Right? This is kind of talk. It's a scripture talking about this. And so one of the things that is really important is that we talk about devotion. And I think we always talk about devotion, and I think it's underrated. We get excited about revivals. We get excited about Sunday service and Wednesday. But do we have, I don't know, I mean, historically in our church and just people talk about it, devotion is kind of like, yeah, get your devotion. It's good. It's good for you. It's like water. And it's just, it's get it when you can. But actually, devotion is the battleground. It's the battleground. It's where you're fighting. It's when you're like, I think of it as like, it's the toe-to-toe combat. It's intimate. It's you really gathering your tools. And so I think it's important to understand that when devotion is easy, that's a blessing. When devotion is hard, it's still a blessing, because devotion is battle, right? So sometimes it feels like it's like a vacation, but devotion is battle. That's where oftentimes salvation is won and lost. So the question you have is that when the book is being closed, when the resistance is coming, right? What do we do?
Yeah.
right? And we have some clear instructions. Praise, right? Because, Paul and Silas, they were beaten. Bam, locked in jail. It is hard to have devotion, last time I checked, being shackled and not knowing you now after you've been beaten. And Paul and Silas said, we can't even access our Bibles. We don't have them. But what did Paul and Silas start to do? They sang, right? I don't know how they sang. I imagine it was good because it was good enough, not necessarily technically wise, it was good enough spiritually. And what started to happen to their devotion? Battles started happening. The ground started shaking. The jail opened up. Things unshackled themselves, not only physically, but spiritually. And because the day and time was very harsh, the guard knew that the chains had been torn up and his prisoners were so important that they were gone, he might as well kill himself because he was going to be killed immediately when they found out that he failed his task. So he was prepared to kill himself. And what happened? They said, hey, we haven't gone anywhere. We're still having devotion in jail. And that's how we have to be, is when letting God flow through us completely, is oftentimes the devil's closing the book, and you start praising, and allow God to shake our reality. It might not be a prison. Hopefully it's not a prison, but shake our spiritual prison, maybe we may call it, that's trying to lock us in and start breaking those things up. And people think, oh, they're going to run, and I told you so's going to come right after. And he said, no, I'm still here. I'm still praising. I haven't changed because God hasn't changed. And that's the power of God flowing through us, is that we're able to praise. And praise might not be a full song. Praise might just put your hand in the air. That's all the strength you have is that I'm going to resist this with praise. And praise is not just you smiling on joy. Praise is a joy, a holy divine joy that even if your body is sad, even if your bank account's negative, empty, that you have a joy because your spiritual bank, thank the Lord, is not based upon our physical one. So the goal here is the joy is really something that we get to tap into and say, this is how I'm going to combat. This is the antidote that God's given me time and time again, is to praise. I'll go back to something you said earlier. He said, in constant prayer is how we get access. So you're constantly praying. This is the air we breathe. And then we go to have devotion, we get some resistance. And what do? We praise. And that constant prayer is filled with praise. And that's the weapon we use to dismantle any kind of challenges that's already been nailed to the cross that we're dealing with in our devotion, in that battleground. And so then comes on Wednesday and Sunday, we are hyped. We're excited. Not just false like coming and hitting the walls. We're excited because we understand how we won. And we know how to do it again and again and again. And the devil's trick is trying to make us confuse us. No, that happened that Wednesday. That's only one time. That was only one time. I got something new. It's the same answer. We focus on it. We're almost running out of time here, and I want to go along. We have 2 minutes and 55 seconds left. I want to get to one of our closing thoughts. I say one of them because I'm hoping to come back to this lesson in September. And that is that if we have love flowing through us, not just love, but divine love, we talked about it a little briefly, and we have not only the power of divine healing, but we also have the divine kind of devotion in place and action, which kind of builds up to God fully flowing through us, his power fully flowing through us. And we talked about earlier, I think it was last Wednesday, is that our living space is our invitation. Well, the kind of technical part of that is all these things are happening. If we're flowing our love on everybody, and we're doing it consistently, and we're modeling after Job and Joseph and David and Esther and all these individuals, Moses, and we're using these models, and we're praising God in our trials and our devotion, all of a sudden, guess what we just did? We just invited someone to church. Because what happens is someone's looking at you going, I don't understand. Now, I know your finances are messed up, and I know you're not feeling well. I know, and you said, and you're praising God? What is this? I want some of this. Because I got all these things and I'm miserable, right? Because I don't have this. And so it becomes, you start to highlight the thirst. And that's what we want to march this lesson about, this holy invitation, that this invitation is not just for the people we're around, but it's also is an indication that we're doing well ourselves. That if people are drawn to us spiritually, if people are impacted by our love spiritually, it's not us as God flowing through us, but it highlights the fact that we're doing our job correctly. And I want to also just kind of add a little thinking, is that let us not be dismayed or or upset or frustrated if we feel like we're not having God's love fully flowing through us, if we don't feel we have God's power fully going through us, we understand that we have something to just work on. And so in order for us to work on that, it's important that we use one thing we talked about briefly, but I want to highlight it again. We have to have a divine faith. A divine faith. And that faith can allow us to access, this kind of the key that opens up all the doors we're talking about here. Because without faith, you have no salvation. Without faith, you can't talk about divine healing. Without faith, you can't talk about divine love. Without faith, it's hard for us to even access God. And so with the tool of faith in place, and with the action of devotion, and with the tool of praise, I can guarantee you that this whole body of work, called the full armor of salvation, can start to dismantle every single challenge that you may come against. Just use the same move. It's like having one karate move that wins every fight. Use the same karate move. You might can mix it up a little bit, but 2 karate moves basically that wins every fight. Just keep using them. Rinse and repeat. And it's kind of funny because the devil get mad at you. Like, try something else. Don't use the same thing that works. Use the same thing that works. That's time for us. Don't change your strategy. It works. It works for Paul and Silas. It worked for Grandpa Chandler. It worked for us today, and it'll continue to work for us tomorrow. But all we have to do is have the faith to take it in. Thank you all for your attention and your time. I will miss you over the next 2 weeks, but I'm praying for you and with you as I travel throughout the Northwest. And I hope that this lesson is something I can take internalized myself, we all can take with us and give our divine invitation. Now, I'm not expecting in 2 weeks or in actually 6 weeks when I get back to have more people here that are like, I got divinely invited, but it's really about not just this church, it's God's church. So wherever they end up going and getting impacted, maybe it's here, maybe it's somewhere else, but we're making sure we're living a life that is inspiring people to draw closer to God. And that's what this lesson is really about. So thank you all so much for your attention and your time, not only today, but on Sunday, last Wednesday, and also today. Because I think this lesson is going to be kind of a pivotal moment for me, even in my own practice. So I can't thank you enough. I'm going to turn off all of our devices online and also here. If there's any other statements or questions that need to be stated, we'll give 5 minutes for that at the end. So now, internet's off. And